Greetings, 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 greetings. This is I again, your king, Clifford Jefferson, reincarnation of King Edgar the Peaceful, or King Edgar Jefferson, reincarnation of Jesus Christ, known as the King of Peace. I also represent Godfrey, the fifth caliban Jew, the one who established the Plantagenet crown, as well as the Angevin, which broke into two branches called the Yorks and Lancasters. We're here as a result of the breakup of the Yorks and Lancasters, which was a result of John Gaunt, son of Edward III, affiliation with those who were not heirs and successors of our vast estate, which goes back to time immemorial. And here on by my side is my queen, my goddess, Sister Godwin from the House of Godwin, who assisted me in this modern day, as well as the time what we call the Battle of Hastings, as well as assisting me is Archbishop Balmont from the House of Balmont, and C.A. Cora Judah from the House of Murphy, here to articulate and give to you what it is that was given to us to articulate, so that we all get this great understanding of how to return and protect and proclaim our vast estate. We also have, as well on the King's Bench, our studious students, Sister Allen, Sister Walker. We also have Brother Milligan, Brother Scott, Brother Gabe, Brother Burgess, Earl Burgess from the House of Burgess, as well as all those who are online trying to get an inner and understanding of what it is that we are here and called to do. We just have connected the dots into the land banking, as well as the funding money used to fund the land banking system, which were established in all corporation entities, which has its root in New Jersey. As we can see, the legislation has established by way of illegal acts to create such corporations which usurp the estate that was left entailed and now function under what we call fee and simple by way of creating the natural born citizens by turning them into legal fixes, which are now called aliens. And now subject them to a feudal tenure, such as what we call taxes and ordinance compliances to rules and regulations that are outside the legislative law that should be the law that govern those citizens who were protected by way of the Constitution that limited the encumbrances that were for the, what we said, the municipalities, counties, boroughs, and cities. As we can see, as a result of that violation, we as trustees of our estate, for the protection of our beneficiaries, which are our heirs to existence here or soon to be, in regards to that in which these corporations were actually created to do, what they have failed to do by way of the instructions as established in the charter, i.e. the original charter, which conforms to the common law of England. So without further ado, we are continuing on with part 4 of understanding land banking and what land banking stems from, which is a result of the status that we were subject to by way of the stealing of our estate through the time era of the 16th, 17th, and 18th century by de facto monarch and colonists who set plantation and enslaved the English nationals and now identify them as Native American, Indian, Nickel Black, colored, Ethiopian, etc. So we have come here today to clear up that that ambiguity and bring you back to understanding where you can no longer go misled, misguided by the unfounded truth. So please pay very close attention to what's being said as we come into the ending and closure of this series of lectures in regards to understanding land banking and the fiat money that it takes to fund the land banking system, which we know, according to the Currency Act of 1764, it is unconstitutional. So with that, let's get started.
And continuing
go ahead, CA.
In continuing of the reading, or shall we continue?
We're going to move forward. I will move a little further down.
Okay. In continuing of the reading, as we previously read, Philip Murphy, governor, was issuing land banking rights under a corporate charter through his quasi legislator, which is not lawful or legal in its origins. And we're continuing to read this from the New Jersey, what this is this from the attorney?
Yeah, this is from the lawyer Edward Quentin Keesby, and is an article listed in Harvard University, which is one of the oldest universities in the United States, and is one of the very high respected law school. You know, and Edward Keesby was a lawyer back in the 19th century, which spoke highly upon the protection of trusts, which were violated by creation of trust under administrators of the de facto trust established by usurpation of the entire estate left for the beneficiaries. So this article just shows you that New Jersey is one of the biggest conspirators to establishing antitrust in lieu of assets that don't belong to them, and transferring those assets that belong to the heirs into what we call depreciating assets, what they call funny money or legal tender, which according to our ancestors' law were ruled illegal. So in order for us to regain our property, our estates, we must do away with the funding of those estates with the legal tender, which was a violation of the Currency Act of the estates that were existing at that particular time, which were funded by lawful money, i.e. pounds, shillings, gold, silver, that was considered a lawful medium of exchange, whether it was a cow, chicken, whatever the case may be, which were being used at that particular time to be paying for debt. Lawful money cannot be used for paying them a debt because it's not legal tender. It's not lawful tender. Holmes versus Walton, which was one of the first cases in the United States, voted that legal tender was unconstitutional, and they had passed legislation in regards to bringing the claim in regards to the unlawful use of legal tender, which can be tried in the court by a 12-man jury. And the act of legislation ruled that a 12-man jury would not be appointed in regards to a complaint brought on behalf of the unlawful legal tender that were being used at a particular time, which the Supreme Court ruled that it was unlawful to have a jury that is unlawful to have a sitting amongst a jury not convened of 12 jurors in regards to the ruling of such a complaint governing the subject matter in lieu of illegal tender, which is the matter here today. So we don't have 12 jurors, but you have about 7 or 8 members of the King's Bench who are actually promulgating, which was established by law, by legislation, as well as by officials in their official capacity in regards to the illegal establishment of legal tender, funding such an establishment of antitrust in regards to property that don't belong to those who are funding it, which are private corporations, which are entities based upon legal fictions. So with that, we get started. This will be the ending of the actual sessions in regards to, once again, land banking 101, and which is funded by legal tender. And with that, we can get started. Let's give somebody else a chance to read. Let's see.
Walker.
Sister Walker.
Yeah.
We can start from here. Sister Walker, is she there?
Oh, you got on mute. Yeah.
You got a mute.
Yes, I think that a careful examination of the course of legislation and judicial decision in New Jersey would show that in dealing with the organization and regulation of corporations, she has followed a consistent, definite, and progressive policy. This policy is different from that of many states. It is a policy of encouraging rather than discouraging the aggregation of capital. It regards the corporation as a means of bringing the savings of many into efficient use as capital for the development of resources and the promotion of industries. It treats the corporation as an association for the purpose of business and deals with it as it deals with the individuals and the partnerships in the conduct of their affairs. It adopts the principles that men, whether associated as partners or in joint stock companies under the name of corporations, should be allowed all the liberty and that is consistent with public safety and order. That freedom of contract is an essential part of the liberty of the citizen, and that the largest practicable freedom of the individual is for the best interest of the community. In pursuance of this policy, the Constitution has forbidden the granting of special privileges or franchises and the creation of corporations by a special act of the legislature or patent from the governor, and that the laws have declared that any persons under certain conditions may form a corporation for any lawful purpose, whatever. Special regulations are made for those that are given public franchises in the exercise of the eminent domain or the use of the public streets, or those that occupy positions of trust like banks or its insurance companies. But in regulating corporations formed for general business purposes, the laws have been directed to the protection of stockholders and creditors and to the security of the money invested rather than to the regulation of the business in the interest of the general public. It has been thought best to treat them as business enterprises. Business enterprises subject only to the inexorable laws of trade and to the restrictions that govern individuals in the conduct of their business affairs. The statutes therefore have made provisions by those, the stockholders, in their certificate of incorporation or in their bylaws may define and limit the powers of the officers and directors, or may give them such ample powers as they may think necessary for the successful conduct of the business. Stockholders are given the right to inspect the books, which power to enforce it for the proper purposes and in a reasonable manner. They may demand and have full reports from the directors of the condition of the business. Any election must be held every year, and in every way, the directors are responsible to the fullest extent to the stockholders and subject to their control. But no obligation is put upon any ordinary business company to make the condition of its affairs known to the public. It is only to the stockholders and the creditors who have a personal interest in the matter, and that the company is obligated to make known its condition. And since the revision of 1875, there has been no law requiring statements of the debts and assets to be filed or published, nor has assessors been authorized to inquire into the earnings of the purpose of imposing a tax upon income.
That's crazy. All right.
That means they doing business and ain't keeping track of the books.
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
On top of that, it looks like they weren't even allowed to be in the books of private people or private businesses.
Now that's called it's called what's that thing? It's called
Pearson Bell.
it's when you gotta
Double ledger. Double ledger.
It's called general equitable. It's called GAP. General equitable accounting principles.
Procedures. Yep.
Yeah. General equitable accountable principles. It means that they got to keep books. Every year at the end of the closing year, they have to produce their books to account for everything they took in and everything they took out. They're called assets and credit. It's called assets and debits. One side you got debits and one side you got credits. Assets is the debit, debt that you owe. Credit is the liability. It's a liability versus what they call capital. So once you paid all your liabilities from the assets that you had, i.e. the debt, whatever less is called the capital or equity. So that's what they concentrate on. And that's done at the end of the closing in the book when everything at the fiscal year, when all the books ended out to zero, where there's no liabilities, no debt owed. All right, so start from there.
Okay, it is largely because of the policy of New Jersey in dealing with corporations, and because the conduct and conditions of the business are treated as private and not public affairs, and are not made the subject of the scrutiny of the assessor. The curiosity of the public and the jealousy of rivals that men engaged in large business enterprises, even though in those states seek the protections of the law of New Jersey. With regards to taxation, the
Sorry
policy,
about that. 1 second. All right.
with regards to taxation, the policy of New Jersey has been to make the burden moderate and invariable. No taxes at all were imposed upon corporations as such until 1884. And the burden then imposed was a definite tax as a moderate rate upon the amount of the capital stock already issued. And the rate then fixed has remained unchanged ever since. It is not left with the assessors to determine the value of the franchise and the amount of tax. And a company cannot count with certainty upon the amount of the tax, both at the present time and in the future. The tax on property is levied as if it were held by individuals. It is a local and not a state tax, and the assessment is made upon the property itself and not on the capital stock. The element of stability is an important characteristic of the laws governing corporations in New Jersey. Few changes has been made in the statute during a long period, and these were made along the lines of development already laid down. The decisions of the courts also has been consistent and uniform. The courts have not been easily distributed by sudden changes of the disturbed by sudden changes of the public opinion with respect to corporations. And the bar has been able to rely upon an orderly development of the legal principles governing corporations, corporate enterprises. Stability in legislation and judicial decisions are an important inducement in the choice of a domicile for an organization, which is to endure for an indefinite period. And in view of the possibility of failure and the sudden end of the corporate life, it is also satisfactory for the parents of the enterprise to know that in case of dissolution, it will have skillful treatment and decent burial. It is.
Hold on. Now they're using terms for dead people for corporations. They're talking about indefinite period of bill, possibly a failure in the sudden end of a corporate life. It is also satisfactory for the parents of the enterprise to know that in case of dissolution, it will have skillful treatment and the decent burial. So why are you treating the corporation like it's a human being now? Or unless they are human beings.
Trying to
So
get
point of interest, they did the separation of church and state to do the amalgamation or the coming together of people and businesses. So they took you out of the church and put you into a business.
Because
now
everyone
your
came up
body's
with trying to get the rights of the Englishman. And the main ones who were trying to get the rights of the Englishman was the merchants, because the merchants were foreign.
So that's why you see on that card with the angel blown in the four corners of the world for all those deities who are now asleep under this unconsciousness that were putting on the people are now resurrected. A lot of people won't see this. All these people who claim to own property, got deeds, mortgage, etc., they're going to be really upset when they watch this video.
Okay.
Yep.
Just think about, if you pay attention, to a lot of it's going to go right over their head. But for those who see this video and understand this video, what costs a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul, but what we give exchange for his soul? Nothing. You can't take it with you. All right. This is the ending article. Go ahead and finish.
It is a fact of some importance in determining the location of a company in New Jersey that in case of insolvency or in dissolution for any cause, the winding of a corporation is in the hands of a court of chancery, and that this is but one court for the whole state, made up of judges set apart for dealing with cases in equity and acting together with the chancery of the head. So the policy and the practice of the court are fixed and well known, and there is no conflict of local jurisdiction with respect to injunctions and the appointment of receivers, and that this court is well known to consist of men of integrity and sound discretion, well acquainted with the law.
So as you're saying, they ain't stupid.
Yeah.
They know what's going on. They know who owns it and who don't know it, own it. And it said, how you know? Because it said the chancellor is aware, and the chancellor represents the king's conscience. So if you ain't talking what we talking here, then you got problems, because they know it's amount of time for it has to be transferred to the right ownership by way of reversion and remandment. Why? Because we're making a claim based off the origin of a clear chain of title, which automatically goes back to the crown and now the corporation, because the corporation didn't get authority from the crown to own anything.
Mhm.
You got it from an act of legislation from a state that never even existed according to the original agreement or the contract. All right, continue on.
Okay. These are some of the reasons why capitalists in other states organize corporations under the laws of New Jersey. And they are based, for the most part, upon the policy adopted by New Jersey with reference to corporations organized by her own citizens, and obviously without intention of drawing them away from other states. The chief points of difference in actual policy between New Jersey and a majority of the states relate to the supervision of the business in the interest of the public and the modes and extent of state taxation. On both of these points, the policy of New Jersey was established many years ago, and it was not until the opposite policy in other states had been carried so far as to become oppressive that persons began to seek the benefit of organization under the laws of New Jersey. I need not now discuss the question which of these two kinds of policies is the better from an economic point of view. It is enough to say that the policy of New Jersey was adopted with a clear to the interests of her own people and the development of her own resources. And if it be found to be one that encourages the aggregation of capital for the promotion of industries in other parts of the country, this is in itself is not sufficient reason for a change of policy on the part of New Jersey.
There you have it. You have Edward Quentin Keesby showing you that New Jersey don't have the authority to grant any corporate power outside of what the citizens allow them to do. But the citizens agreed to be incorporated because those citizens were colonists.
Mhm.
They weren't the original inhabitants, they were colonists. So in order to hide this from the original inhabitants, they had to change the law and keep that law in existence from that time up to this day. That's the reason why under the FHA, under the loan office that were established going back to 1723, and even before that, we were kept in regards to the loans that were given to immigrants, colonists, as a result of knowing that those colonists and immigrants who came here in lieu of those loans granted by mortgages, it was only for the upkeep.
Exactly.
That's the only purpose why they got it, is for the upkeep. And when they couldn't upkeep it, it went into the hands of privateers who were able to keep the upkeep without making any money off it, because they know it's funny money. They were just using it for their time being. Because it said in the charter, you can yield on behalf for the heirs and successors, but at the same time, you can enjoy some of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can enjoy some of it, but what they're doing is allowing the people who's doing the work for them to enjoy some of it, but they're going to have to give it back.
Exactly.
And on that note, I let Archbishop say a couple of words, and I give my queen the floor, and then CA, and then all the other members can say a couple of words in regards to this beautiful lesson that the King's Bench have put forth, and then we can close out.
I'll go ahead and let Queen Galveston speak first.
All right, go ahead.
This is just another beautiful lesson. And it just brings light and clarity to the corruption of our government, along with all these high-end corporations, as to what they've been doing for hundreds of years. And it's like a Ponzi scheme almost.
Yeah, well said.
You know, and like I said earlier in the lesson, once you stop following the script, they don't want any part of you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they gotta, it's like they said, it's nothing personal, it's business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once you interfere with what they're doing, then they want to get rid of you. So like I said, it's just very interesting. points of view today in today's lesson. So especially with the part about New Jersey, I didn't even know all of this about what was going on in the state of New Jersey. And I've been here all my life, but it's just very interesting. And with that, I give it back to Archbishop.
Well said, Queen.
Well said, Queen Galveston. And there you have it, nobles from the Kingdom of England, Empire of Albion. King Clifford Jefferson from Royal House of Plantagenet has put the pieces together beautifully and very easily for anybody to be able to watch these videos and be able to come to the same consensus on their own. There's only one road back. It may be four corners, but they all come back to the same core. And as you see, it's Jersey. Even the corporations themselves know this. That's why everybody is trying to make it to Jersey to get started, and then they flock from out of Jersey and then try to put their rule in from that point. But no matter what they're doing, it's still fraudulent. And it does not negate the heirs who have a higher claim. It just requires us to come back to the proper understanding of who we are and how to properly administer our estate. And the only way for that to be done, you have to have the king's conscience. And if you're not coming to the king's bench to get these lessons, you will never be able to be a operator or a holder or a trustee for the estate that's not only for you, but for your posterity.
Well said.
And the beautiful part about, once again, about this lesson is once you watch it the second time, I don't see why you won't actually drop everything you have in your current affairs and start walking back home. Because like the king already told you, you can't take it with you. You can't give it to nobody. The state will take it from you. Ramping up to figure out how they can continue to keep taking more stuff from you. You got the gas prices. There's our astronomical. We never seen prices like this in our day and age. And yet and still you're not getting paid so-called anything more to compensate for that. So what's this going to show you what's taking place right now? There's going to be a great depopulation take place on our landmass, which we call in here the Kingdom of England, because as many of you have lost the knowledge and you have now put yourself down to the status of someone non-compos mentis, they have to figure out what they're going to do with you. And the fact is that we can't bring you home in the state of mind that you're in. That's considered an illness. When you're lost like you are, you consider sick, and someone have to take care of you. And as you see how quarantines work, quarantines are created to separate sick people from healthy people. The English heirs are coming home into the only bubble where we can be safe and protected from all of these germs and all this other filth that's going on out there, and that's the church, the English church. And if you don't make your way back here, there's no way you can ever be sanitized properly. So with that being said, I leave the rest of the closing to C.A. Murphy from the House of Murphy, as well as to our sisters from their respective houses and our brothers from theirs. And pay attention to what they say in their testimonies, because only they can give you the truth from their own conviction and heart that we have been trying to show and our ancestors been trying to leave for us for quite some time. So that being said, peace and love, and I digress.
Well said, Archbishop. C.A.?
Well said, Archbishop. High honors to our King Clifford Jefferson, high honors to our Queen Godwinson, high honors to our Archbishop, high honors to the King's Bench and the panels, all those that at the sound of my voice, I trust you all gathered this lesson and it is marinating and digesting on your heart. What a beautiful explanation of your legislative laws that govern your lives from the 1600s into now. What a marvelous way to understand that your lands or the lack thereof have been aggregated or transferred from your inheritance and state over to this state, which is a foreign body politic, a municipality authorized under corporate charter, even to this day, by one Patrick Murphy, who holds my soul name. So with the realization of the puppet players who are in position to issue these corporate charters outside of their legislative authority, we rebuke and rescind any said legislation or charters granted on the acknowledgement on the fact that these charters are not legal or lawful and outside of their corporate construct. I trust that all of our in all of our getting, we're getting the equitable, applicable knowledge for our interests in our said estates. All of our estates are in a state of emergency. We are in a state of emergency. We've been in a state of emergency because our lands and our physical properties are being taken by fraudulent conveyance of language, which is unlawful charters granted by these municipalities and franchises. So when we get these lessons, we get them every Sunday. We do it ritually. It is our religion to practice our English heritage and study the history in the inner, outer, and then display it on the inner and middle temple, and then display it on the outer temple. So we are honoring our ancestors, our foremothers, and our forefathers by first acknowledging our prospective houses and where we ascend from. Secondly, by understanding that our royal charters granted precede the corporate legislation being mandated today. Thirdly, understanding that the quorum that is formed is in modern, we are in effect and alive and well today. This is 2972 Berber calendar. Right now, they're still affecting and enacting laws and appointing judicial officers in their municipal corporations that have yet to be recognized or validated by the King's Bench. Here at the King's Bench, we reserve all rights to our council and its officers and trustees. So while the state of affairs is constantly evolving, we know that the difference between the de jure and the de facto. And we here at the King's Bench, the Third Temple English Church of England, reserve all our rights under the Crown Charter, known as the Great Charter, the Magna Charter, since time immemorial. And we give honor to our King for breaking this lesson down in modern day statutes so everyone can see the difference between the de jure kingdom, which we welcome you back home, and the de facto, which is governing under operation of law through their corporate charters. I trust all of you will continue to review these lessons because you can practice something and it not be perfect. And it is upon this that your practice be made perfect in your study of your English heritage and the applicable laws and statutes that govern it. I yield the floor at this time. I look forward to communing with you in the future. And I leave the rest to my brother Scott from the House of Scott. Peace and love.
Let me change the order. Earl Esquire, he's an officer, so let Brother Burgess go first.
Indeed.
Esquire?
I think he's on mute.
He's on mute. Okay, he's on mute.
No,
He's there.
Yeah, he's
there.
All right. Greetings, Noble.
This is the closing.
Yeah, it's the close.
Greetings, Angel. This your brother Burgess from the House of Burgess, and I hope y'all was able to follow the timeline and get what you needed out of it to understand your status and your position as an heir and successor. And I greet you as I meet you.
Well said. Well said. Well said. Brother Scott, I'm gonna let you go because you held your tongue. I know you've been dying to speak, but I'm gonna let you go on and get your tone in now, Noble.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks to the King, the Queen, Archbishop, of course, C.A. Murphy, of course. As we all understand, there is no statute of limitations for fraud. So with this lesson, this is what I've learned. And I did speak with the Archbishop and the King last week concerning this lesson. So the information that's been contained here is excellent. It's excellent. It also shows me as an heir that I do have remedy. And I think that's an issue with a lot of our people of Berber descent. They don't see or seek remedy, which has been brought to us by the King's Bench. Outstanding lesson. I will be running with this in the future. Of course, I will.
Thank you.
Stop by everyone to make sure that I'm not causing any issues along the way. But great lesson. I look forward to next Sunday, and thank you all.
Well said, Brother Scott. Brother Militant from the House of Militant. You there?
He's on mute also.
Brother Militant.
I think he's muted. Got on mute.
All right. I'm saving the Queen's Council for last because I know when they talk, they listen.
Yeah.
I got a lot of I got the last message they said when Sister Allen opened her mouth, they start crying. Brother said he didn't know, he said he was texting and crying at the same time. So our sisters are a great impact. I know I'm really blessed to have my queen here, you know, by my side, and it's just a joy, you know, to share it with her. And I just appreciate the energy that you sisters give in regards to, you know, the birth canal. You know, it's through y'all channel that our heirs come from. So, you know, I just love the fact that you're standing in a place where men should be, you know, and I'm pretty sure you can do the job even better, you know, and I've seen that just by the growth of you two sisters, Sister Walker and Sister Allen. And I don't know who to go first, but I'm gonna let Sister Walker go first. You go first.
Hey, greetings and give honor to our king and his queen and the archbishops and everybody here today.
Give on to you.
This was a wonderful lesson. I've studied law for a long time, and I went through a lot of lessons on the King's Bench. A lot of videos I've went through twice. And when you go through these lessons and you cannot find any contradictions in any of these lessons, I go through the lessons, I look at all the documents, I backtrack the documents, and a lot of this information is just went over our heads. Even today's lessons, when we talk about the land bank, they had words in there that says they can only go after abandoned properties.
Mm-hmm.
They can only tax aliens. We've been operating as aliens the whole time, and they can only go after abandoned properties. So your property has only been abandoned, even if you had a so-called deed, is because you never acknowledged your deed, which means a grantor gave you the property, but as the grantee beneficiary, you can never be the grantor without acknowledging that deed. So you have left your property abandoned at the county recorder. So when we go over these lessons, you have to pay attention to every word in law, because every word means something. So when I go over these, I'm just blown away at all these laws have been here all the time, but we have never taken the time to really dig into them and read. And as the heirs and as the mother for all my children, we have progeny that's coming after us. We have children that we must teach, grandchildren, great grands that we'll probably never see. We need to make a difference for them right now. And as an English woman, I went into court this week as an English woman, and the judge told the other side he didn't have jurisdiction to hear the case, and he dismissed it. And I didn't have to say a word other than that. So they do know who we are. The corporations do know who we are. So I'm glad to be home. I'm glad to be an English woman. I'm glad to be from the House of Walker. And I'm glad to be an example for my children and for anybody who's watching these videos. I yield.
Here.
Well said, Sister Allen. I feel like crying now. Well said.
Here, here.
Sister Walker, well said, well said. I know your energy is felt, the sincerity is there, and the hope is felt. You know, the hope is definitely felt. And from your kind words, I can imagine what I'm about to hear by Sister Allen, because she was your protege. So I look forward to hearing her kind words. Sister Allen?
Thank you, King. Well, I give high honors to the King, to the Queen, to the King's bench, of course, for bringing me along on this journey. Honestly, I cannot even see where I would be today had I not fallen on this remarkable adventure, is what I call it, the quest of many questions. You know, to learn about the land banking laws 101, listening to the class, to finding out all the many atrocities that has occurred throughout the past 200 years, with New Jersey actually incorporating the land bank that allowed these these corporations, these magnitude, these giant corporations out to conduct themselves out of honor and to run rampant with a lot of the things that has been performed. It has only come to light right now that, you know, to actually find this information, I never would have found it. It is only because of the King and his ability to interpret these laws that this information has fallen on him and his shoulders alone. He is bringing us to help and express the magnitude of our estate that has been eschewed from us. And we're trying to walk in his shoes at this point and learn everything that we can about what it is that needs to be done, the vast amount of work that needs to be done to restore our estate. It is brilliant. And I always give thanks. I always speak highly of everyone on the panel because you all give me strength to be here every week and to study diligently the things that I need to study. And I just want to say thank you. And to people out there who is watching, you must continue this work because there's only a few of us up here. We need many of you. We need this information to, you know, reach a vast amount of people because without it, you know, it's falling on blind eye and deaf ears. And we don't have a whole lot of time. So with everything that you have learned today, this was a marvelous lesson. It was very long. I implore each and every one of you to go back and really listen again. It's not that hard to know what it is that we know and to welcome you all to this class. And I thank you.
Here, here.
Well said, well said. Everybody spoke as if the message came across in its entirety in full quantity. So I'm so blessed just to have amongst me such studious studentry. And I know that, you know, was understanding the capacity of the authority and power we have, that what's been designed for us throughout time immemorial will now materialize and invest in those that's needed the most of what we can contribute to this, not just the movement, but to our religious society as well as the world in its entirety. So once again, I just love you all. I just thank the creator for the lessons that, you know, once again, I don't see how they were able to be revealed to me in the entirety that they have, and to be able to explain it in such easiness. So once again, it's just one of me. So I can imagine the continuance of the studentry that you give. I know our power is just the beginning, you know. So I love you all. I expect y'all to continue to digest what's been spoken today. My wife was the last word, or okay. So we love you all. I know my dog is ready for me now, so I'm gonna go tend to him. But I expect y'all to dialogue amongst yourselves and grow in the capacity that you continue to grow when I'm with you. So I love you. And I greet y'all as I meet y'all. Archbishop, they are now in your hands, and I'll see y'all at this class.
All right. Look, Kingdom of England,
Peace.
Five Albion.
Peace, peace, peace. See y'all later.